No, we don't shame our viewers.
Shame. Hey everybody, my name is Paris.
I'm Selena.
Welcome to our channel. This is
Love
Uncut. So this week I wanted to give someone their flowers, and on this occasion it isn't Selena. Although I do keep Selena topped up regularly with romantic gestures like flowers. Not to toot my own horn, but I even got some during lockdown 1. Remember that?
Yeah, none since then.
Oh, sorry, we're going to edit that bit out. But yeah, hopefully I can get like a 5-star review on Trustpilot for that gesture. Anyway, giving flowers, so it means 2 things. Apart from the romantic gesture, also means, I guess, praising and appreciating people while they're here. Because I think there's something that we tend to do as human beings, which is praise people and give them and tell them, you know, how dope they are when they're no longer here. So yeah, I wanted to kind of share this good news story. It's about Marcus Rashford. We're going to give Marcus Rashford his flowers because recently he's forced our government in the UK, the Tories, into 2 U-turns regarding providing free school meals for eligible children over the lockdown period and also into the Christmas holidays. Got that right, innit?
Yeah, so I think to give a bit more detail for people who aren't aware, essentially he's always done charity work, like at least for the past year he's worked with Selfridges to give kind of food boxes to people. This was last year, and in March this year he worked with a charity to provide meals to children who were eligible for free school meals but didn't have meals outside of school, and so it was for kids and families who were struggling in that respect. And I'll put the name of the charity he works with here for your reference, but essentially the campaign started in Manchester and then it expanded throughout the UK. I think he ended up feeding around 3 to 4 million kids throughout the UK, and it sort of opened his eyes towards this being like a national issue of people struggling to feed their kids outside of school. So that's when in March, April, he sort of propositioned the government saying, hey, like, you're not doing enough. And that's why they sort of, after a bit of back and forth and him going on social media and talking about all these stats, I think Boris gave him a ring and said, all right, you know, we'll help. And they invested, you know, millions of pounds in feeding kids over the Easter period. But then it was like a one-off. And Marcus started, I think he got quite upset at the lack of sort of empathy and care the government had towards the kids, because basically in November, as he said, the Tories voted against helping kids out, helping families out during the upcoming Christmas, etc. holidays, again giving kids free meals. And so he was like, how can we go through this again? Why are we having to go through this again, you know? So he had to do another campaign, and he actually, because the government weren't doing anything, implored businesses to actually help out. So there were a lot of restaurants, cafes, etc. across the country who actually offered free meals during half term. You know, like even independents were doing this, and bear in mind this is a really difficult time for independent businesses right now with all the lockdowns and stuff. So he had a massive influence just on sort of bringing the nation together to be aware of this issue, that people really are struggling, and you know, kids deserve to have food. Like at the end of the day, we've said this in another episode, you can say whatever you want about parents and stuff, but a kid deserves to have food. That's a human right, and really in a Western country it shouldn't even be an issue, should it? So yet again he did this whole campaign, people helped him that weren't part of the government, and then I think it made the government ashamed that they'd voted against providing kids with these meals, kids in need with these meals. And Boris has rang him up again and said, we'll do it. So it's like, why does someone else have to you should know the stats as the government. You should know, you should care. And it's like, just because someone else cares and has made you look bad, suddenly you turn around and you say it's okay. Like, I mean, I'm happy they've turned around and okayed it, but it's like, how long will this last for, you know? Are they going to vote against it again at the next opportunity?
Yeah, it's going to be harder to do that politically once you've opened this door. It's going to be harder to do it, thankfully. And yeah, it's just funny because you said, oh, the government felt shame and that's why they changed their mind.
That's what I think.
I don't think they're capable of feeling shame. It's just about what's politically convenient, and politics is this whole different world where it's just about how many eyes are on one issue. That dictates what they're going to deal with next. There are loads of different pressing issues. I mean, loads, millions. That's what, you know, a day in the life of a prime minister is, or a leader is. But what they allocate priority to and what they take action on just depends on how many people are looking at it. So coronavirus, vaccine, Brexit, things like immigration, a lot of it seems to sway the public opinion quite quickly, and then obviously child food poverty. And I think on the other side of the argument, the reason why there was some resistance, I know you spoke about, you know, why it takes so long. The reason why there was some resistance is because through their lens, a political lens, and it wasn't just the government saying it, there were normal everyday people who identified, mainly on the right to be honest, who were just saying, look, it's the parents' fault, they're spending money on silly things. You know, there's a stat about how food bank usage has rocketed. Of course it's rocketed, it's coronavirus, people are losing jobs, low paid workers have less money coming in. But people have always, a lot of people have put the political argument that, you know, it's your fault that you're poor basically. What you spend your money on is of course your situation. And they even have the gall to extend that to these people's kids. But ultimately, the kids didn't ask to be born here.
It's not the kids' fault. And it's, as you just said, like the wider scope of where the world is right now isn't even being taken into consideration. Like, maybe these kids who need the meals this year didn't need it last year. Maybe mum's lost her job. Maybe dad's, I don't know, hours have been reduced because of corona. Like, take that into consideration as well. And you know, for people who are sort of pointing the finger, you don't know anyone's circumstance. So I just kind of would, just don't always think you know everything. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors. You don't know how people spend their money. A lot of assumptions can be made about that. So even if that's where your mind is going, as I said, just focus on the child, and really everyone should agree that a child deserves food, deserves to eat, deserves to be nurtured. And I kind of really, I guess I can't believe that someone so young, he's only like 23, right?
Yeah, just turned,
is having this impact, and it really just speaks volumes about, really, age is nothing but a number. He's just someone who has empathy and maturity and actually cares, and it might be because of his background, because I understand that he grew up in an area of Manchester which, you know, it's not a fancy area, and his mum really struggled to provide for him and his siblings growing up. You know, he's openly said there were days he was hungry, but he never took it out on his mum because he knew that she was working literally full-time all the time and trying to care for them and all this kind of stuff. And so he's just using what he went through to make sure no other child goes to bed hungry or feels like they're not good enough, or, you know, questions why they don't have food or the type of food that their friends have. You know, you don't want a child to start going down that route of questioning their worth. Exactly. So it's like, he's gone through that, and I really commend him for using his platform for something good, especially at such a young age, and especially like with all the stereotypes that go along with being a footballer. Do you know what I mean? I feel like sometimes they're given quite a hard time, and maybe because they're given such a hard time, a lot of them don't even try, you know, whereas he's actually tried and made such an impact. Like, he's reversed government legislation. I don't think people understand how big a deal that is. And it's like it's a Tory government who won by a massive majority, so that's the equivalent of just most of the UK looking red
which is their colour, innit? So basically Labour couldn't do this. They jumped on Marcus's coattails the first time and the second time, but Marcus was the initiator. Marcus is clearly the hero.
Yeah, he's the one that did all the petitions. He's the one that, like, him and his mum go to food banks, give out food. It's basically like, if the government's not going to do it, then at least he tries to do what he can do through just physically going to hand out stuff and donate, but also his platform, like, he got people to sign petitions. As I said, he's got all businesses around the UK to help out. He shouldn't have to, really. And that's why, like, you know, I think the first lockdown, when he did this the first time around, people were like, oh, he's rich, he can just pay for it himself. And it's like, but he shouldn't have to pay for every child in the UK to have a meal. That's what the government is there to sort this stuff out. Like, but he's gone over and above what he needs to do.
Put his neck on the line. I mean, he's got such a massive platform. He's a millionaire footballer, 23 years old, but there's so much pressure that comes with that job every day. Every day people are looking at you, writing about you, and you know, if he was a lower league footballer, maybe he wouldn't have as much impact, because I think there's this kind of thing in people's heads of, oh, there's only people who are rubbish at their job or their profession that bother with wider social issues. It's almost like empathy is weird to a lot of people. They don't understand how somebody with such power, privilege, wealth can still be empathetic, because there are people out there that have a fraction of Marcus Rashford's fortune, money-wise, but they have way less empathy.
Yeah, I don't think the two are interlinked in any way. I mean, maybe the richer you become, the more detached you become, or you want to forget about your past life if it was a struggle. I don't know. I think there's some psychology sort of there, perhaps, but I just don't think it's exhaustive. And that's why, like, you know, many people might follow a certain path, but it doesn't mean everyone follows that path. And I just really commend him for doing this, because, as I said, not many footballers do this. Yeah, they'll go on the stand up to racism. What is the football thing for racism?
Kick it out.
Kick it out. They'll go on those ads, but those ads are something that someone has asked them to come on, to sponsor, to endorse, to show their face. This is actually Marcus doing it off his own back. No one set up a campaign for him. He's done it himself, you know. And yeah, I find it amazing. I find it heartwarming. Again, he's only 23, which is just, it just shows, you know, a lot of people, again, even like during Corona, people are saying, oh, everything's down to the youth and they don't care and they're selfish and running around and spreading the virus. And it's like, no, don't give young people a bad name. Like, they're just as capable as doing something amazing as someone who's 40 years old. Like, yeah, no, for sure. And you know, I think it's as you say, it's not Marcus's job to do this, but he's just done things out of the kindness of his heart, and clearly on a human level, lots of different people across both political parties, you know, jumped on this and did what they could to help. So even when the government were in that kind of phase of refusing the Christmas extension, some of the Conservative local councils were still giving out food. There was, so on a human level, you know what, you can try and chuck politics into it, where there's these different rules where you can literally lie and call it alternative facts, or you can just dehumanize people and brutalize people and justify it. You can do that with almost every other topic, but hungry kids, you can't. And I have to say, you know, there has been like a role for sports where they've taken on some of these social issues and really brought them to such visibility. I personally think, for example, in Black Lives Matter movement, I personally think it's worth something, because, you know, you have to start the conversation, and from a conversation becomes the action. Yeah, you know, 100%. And well, sports celebrities, well, celebrities in general, they're idolised, right? They're people's role models. And so if as a young kid or someone who, you know, really looks up to these people, you see them talking about these things or standing up for these things, then it might, you know, there might be a little click in you that switches, and it's like, oh, actually, I can do my little bit by XYZ, or oh, they're talking about this, what does that mean, and go and do a little bit of research, you know. Like, I'm sure a lot of people didn't realise the extent to which kids were struggling to eat. I didn't. I mean, I didn't grow up in this country, so a lot of that stuff I didn't know about free school meals and things like that, and so it's kind of been an education for me as well to understand the infrastructure of it. But I just think the fact that we offer free school meals is amazing, so let's not take away from that. I think that is a really good thing. A lot of countries don't offer that as part of, you know, state schools.
You know how rich the UK is? Of course they better flipping offer
no,
that.
but
they are rich.
Just, it's a positive though. It is a positive, and take it from someone that grew up in a country where that wasn't offered.
Yeah, I mean, Nigeria, you know. Anyway, I mean, yeah, obviously, but I'm just saying, you got more than your responsibility is more, in my opinion, in terms of the people that you can help. And you just lift your little finger. You know, you've not spent billions of pounds on Brexit. But yes, go on. I'm just saying, you know, it's just not. It wasn't even hard for them. I don't know if we should even praise them, because it's such a rich country.
Well,
rich as hell.
I think it's a positive that happens. I don't know the struggle that happened to make that happen, the free meals at school. But obviously now, okay, that's happened, and it's like the next step. You need to think beyond that. You need to think of the child's welfare, not just in school, outside of school, and support families a bit more, etc. So, and I've completely lost my point now.
I watched Alexander Trent-Arnold. Do you know who he is? Anyway, he's a Liverpool right back. Popular young man as well, like Rashford, and you know, he's achieved a lot on the football pitch, and he's spoken up about Black Lives Matter. But specifically, anyway, in the interview, Rio Ferdinand was interviewing him, and Trent said, you know, I'm aware kids look up to me, and a lot of them will be wanting to cross the ball like me and play in a Premier League team like me, but I also want them to think about my character, know my character, and be influenced by that. And I think that just speaks to the point that everybody, no matter what job you're doing, whatever your position is in the world, you want to feel like you're having an impact on people, or impacting the world in some way, whether you're a nurse, doctor, care home worker, teacher, or just your everyday job. You want to feel like, yeah, I make a difference. There's something in our human nature that generally makes us want to do that, and there's something in our human nature where we get to a certain point and we oftentimes want to find ways to have an impact. So I think he probably enjoyed, from what I can tell from his character from a distance, he probably enjoyed this impact more than scoring a goal, you know.
Yeah, well, I think it means more, like, in the grand scheme of things. Okay, if you help England win a match or Man U win a match, fantastic. But if you're feeding kids throughout the country, that's I don't know. I just think that's something that's just, you can't. It's priceless. You know, you can't even put a word to it. So yeah, I just think that has a lot more standing with me. But I mean, you just said that everyone wants to make a difference. I don't think everyone does. I feel like some people, they're just happy to coast and chill, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know. But I think everyone's different, or everyone makes little differences here and there. Like, you can make a difference by, if someone's, you know, someone that's homeless on the street approaches you and asks for money, you don't have money but you have food. That's what I always do. If I have an apple or my lunch for work or whatever, that's what I would give, and hopefully you feel like that little thing makes a difference in someone's day. Not all of us are footballers, not all of us have billions of people following us on Twitter, but we all can make a little difference here and there. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's nice, like what you said about the other footballer, talking about his character, because with footballers it's very much, at least in the past, it's very much been about the bravado and lads and all this kind of stuff, whereas now I feel like they're more comfortable to talk about deeper topics and their character and be a bit more vulnerable, whereas perhaps before that wasn't accepted for someone in the sports industry.
No, it wasn't the cultural norm.
Yeah, I think that's a good shift.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I was thinking for years I've been watching Match of the Day, and they always ask the footballer, how do you think you did? And it's almost like they're all reading from a script. They're so like one short sentence.
You're probably all
right.
trained by the same PR and media agency.
Exactly, back to the team. They all have this kind of monotone, you know, docile kind of manner about them. What's deeper than that, you know, and what we're starting to see is deeper than that, and that's through the power of social media. I can pick up my phone now and just tell you what I think, and millions of people have access directly to me, so it's for the better.
Yeah, it's definitely a positive. I think with that though, it has to be a balance, right? Because you need to also, when you're a celebrity, I think there's an element of protecting yourself.
Yeah,
sometimes, because on Twitter, like when the Twitter brigade come out, it's just like everyone comments on everything, and it can be a bit overwhelming sometimes. So
yeah, I mean, yes, I agree. I mean, you can say what you think about certain things. No one said, you know, be Mother Teresa sort of thing. And the fact is, if I've got a platform, I can reach further than, you know, it's going to be more powerful me telling everybody about this child food poverty versus me just secretly donating money at the end of the day.
Well, and physically doing something, I think it's not that it's easy to donate money, because look, we all work hard, and you know, if you want to donate, that's fantastic, and if you can afford to, amazing. But I think there's really something extra special about physically doing something and giving up your time, giving up your, you know, your platform, your words, interacting with people. So yeah, he's sort of done everything, so I just really commend him. And
he got an MBE, didn't he?
Yes,
he got an MBE
after the first time, so God knows what he's going to get.
He needs
now.
a knighthood. That's my whole thing.
Maybe they will, because he's turned it around twice now.
That's power, man. He's done it quickly. Like, the thing about, like, we've been complaining about the noise next to our house for months. Okay, it does not compare to child food poverty, but the point is
construction. Sorry for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah, for people that didn't watch our earlier video, shame on you, because we spoke about that at length. Got to shame people into watching us.
No, we don't shame our viewers.
Shame. But the point is, we've been arguing, and the truth is, they act like they're going to do something. They act like they're going to do something, but it's been 19 months, however long, nothing's happened. They keep saying it's gonna, you know, these construction guys are going to leave. They're going to leave this week. 3 months later, nothing's happened. So it just shows that usually when you go through the right channels of power, whether it's your local council or whatever, nothing happens. Most of the time, nothing happens. Most people feel apathetic about politics and their ability to make a change. So this after Trump, after the way Corbyn got beaten in 2019, after Brexit, is something I can just feel good about. You know, I'm not a kid that's hungry, but I like to feel that this society is moving in the right direction, and
it's a good news thing as well.
Yeah,
like
a little sliver of,
just a little sliver of hope and human kindness. And I read something the other day, and it said kindness is power, and I really feel like that's so applicable to this story.
Yeah.
Because it all just comes from him wanting to do something better for people, and that's being kind, isn't it? And he's had such a powerful impact. So.
Yeah, and big up him and Sir Tom. He's the other guy that caught your heart, you know.
Oh, he's so cute!
Because he's an old man that was doing laps around his nursing home to raise money for the NHS, which is such a massive behemoth, which is also the subject of political spin, and people think it doesn't need funding, people want to privatise, people don't. Yeah, so Sir Tom got up and he did laps around his nursing home, and the media got a wind of it. Social media meant that you could donate money very quickly, and you know, yeah, he got a knighthood for that. And yeah, I hope that...
He's so cute.
Yeah, you know, he's just another example of someone who's not just thinking about himself, he's thinking about others, and you know, it's heartwarming to see. And I hope that Marcus gets a knighthood, because he deserves that. Because you can't make this government do anything quickly and to make them do it twice. That's my point. That shows a real cultural or societal power and influence. Yeah, so you got to be a knight now. I don't know if it's got some colonial history behind it, but I'm also dying for them to say, "Oh, Sir Marcus Rashford on the ball, Sir Marcus Rashford." I mean, that would be amazing.
Is there any other footballer that's a Sir?
Sir Bobby Charlton.
Oh yeah.
But that was after the fact. You know, he had to win the World Cup basically to get. But I think this is just as powerful. It's on par. It's controversial. I wanted to talk quickly about as well, like as maybe a contrast of sorts. Not sure what you've seen in the media, but the Marcus Rashford story jumped out at you know, everybody in the UK. And I think actually he's about to get managed by Jay-Z.
He has already signed up to Rock Nation. That happened over the summer. But I don't really understand. Are they, like, what are they managing? He's not doing music, is he?
Not as far as I know, but he's a sports star, so just like Beckham was a brand over in the US, you can sell and expand.
Right, I see. So like products and things and brand and all that. Okay. Because my understanding was his brothers also managed him, didn't they? That's what I read. Yeah. So that's interesting. And well, I mean, they always have done, but I guess it must have been a family decision. I just don't like. I don't know. I just feel like sometimes when people go over to the States, things change and.
I mean, you know, nah. I mean, maybe, but I doubt it.
Like, what if he goes and starts playing over there like Beckham? It's just like, we've lost a national treasure.
Yeah, when he's about 36, he will. I think, you know, he's going to play in Europe, isn't he? The top leagues. He's still entering his prime, I think.
Anyway, you were talking about a contrast.
Yeah, so the point is, his name's clearly gotten out there on a global level and a national level. And then someone else is kind of out there as well, to be honest. Probably more out there. Lewis Hamilton. So Lewis Hamilton's recently had press for beating Schumacher's all-time record of wins in F1. So how many podium wins in F1? So clearly he's seen as like a sporting legend.
Oh, he is.
But he hasn't. I don't really think the media love him the way that they've kind of loved Rashford, to be honest. And maybe it speaks to the fact that Lewis Hamilton speaks about climate change, which is quite global, quite broad, quite far away. You can't see it, you can't feel it now.
He speaks about BLM as well. He's quite vocal, and he's always wearing the things to go along with it, the t-shirt, the hat. He speaks about it and he's unapologetic, and I think that's, I commend him for doing that too, because it's not easy, especially when the media don't portray you in the best light. But I don't think it's fair for people to take that and use that against him in terms of how he's performing as a driver.
That's the risk that Marcus is taking. But
as you say, he's overtaken that record by Schumacher, and people were trying to say, oh well, he's dirty and he cheats and his car, and it's like, everyone has the ability to have access to that technology if they're part of a good team. Schumacher did a few dirty tricks back in his day, so in fact, I think he was a bit dirtier than Lewis, to be honest. I can't remember Lewis doing anything naughty for
let's not explore the merit of those people. Why
no, but you have to, because people will have an argument with no fact. I just don't, it's not fair. He's broken a record. Be happy for him. Cheer him on. If you don't support him or you don't like him, still, you can't take away his records. It's a bit crazy.
Yeah, and I just think, I think if Lewis Hamilton was campaigning for child poverty in the UK, I think he'll probably get a more favourable press coverage, I think. But because he's talking about global humanitarian issues, it's just hard for people to connect. That's a problem with society. It's harder for people to connect to things that aren't on your doorstep, that aren't you, basically. But his cause is a very noble, climate change, very close to my heart, and that's a small way we can all help the people in the world, recycling properly, for example, or humanitarian movements as well, of all kinds. But yeah, I mean, it just shows the risk that Marcus is taking on, basically. As soon as you stick your head above the parapet to stick up for somebody, they try and break you down.
Well, he's the chosen one right now. The media turns on anyone for anything, so
it'll be hard for him to do it now, but yes. So yeah, that contrast is interesting. I'm just saying that overall, empathy is the way, and you can't teach empathy, you can't buy it, but it's still clearly prevalent overall in this society, and even those that have done well in life, they still have it. Not everybody has an agenda. Some people, they still maintain their humanity even though they've been successful, and they understand that the overall picture is not as bright for other people. So big up those people. I was a school meals, free school meals person, and it helped me concentrate at school, right? I can remember being in my milks group, You know, when I was like 5, I think I was in the rectangle group. I remember talking to somebody, what group are you in? I was in a rectangle group, and then, you know, you go in school, you can concentrate, it gives you the fuel.
Oh yeah, you need that as a child.
And yeah.
Imagine how crabby you are as an adult when you don't eat, well, at least I am. But as a kid, like, you actually, you're growing, your brain, everything is growing. You need that nutrition to learn, to function, to play, to do PE, you know, to concentrate, as you say, you need it. So,
yeah, and there's no shame. There's no shame in needing help. There's no shame in helping somebody. You don't need to hold it over anybody. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, that was something else that he's campaigning for, because obviously, like, with these current situations, certain kids get the free meals because of the income of their household, but he's worried about people who like fall just outside that quota, who are still struggling, and he wants to extend that bracket, I suppose, to include more children. So that's something else he's campaigning for, but I think that will take a bit longer.
Yeah, these legislations can be very black and white and almost inhuman. I get you have to organise and facilitate these massive things, but, you know, the argument is there right in your face. Some people do fall through the cracks. Is that what you want for some of these kids?
No, I really think at the end of the day, nobody wants that. It's difficult to get through all the layers, etc. So luckily we have someone who's got the platform to do that, and the connection. He seems to have Boris's mobile on speed dial now, so hopefully he can help going forward.
Yeah, and
those who need it.
He's so eloquent as well. Like, I'd be stuttering or typos or something, you know, knowing all these people looking at me and these scary politicians. If I was 23, you know, people, because these are big institution people, you know what I'm saying, and you're not supposed to be having, you're not supposed to have the education to take these people on. You know, you're supposed to know your place.
No, I don't know about that.
I'm just saying it's something that might be in the back of your mind, but, you know, he went and did everything, and is doing everything. So yeah, I'm glad to give him his flowers, and, you know, as is Selena, speaking on Selena's behalf, but obviously you can tell by the content of the video. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Sir Marcus Rashford coming soon, hopefully, because that's what he deserves. No more, no less. He's one of the few good news stories of 2020. So in the honours list, I think that comes out in January. I want to see him there. I want to know what the odds are, actually. Maybe place a cheeky little bet.
I wonder if that is a bet already. You can bet on anything these days.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think his odds would be decent, actually.
I wish I'd bet on Biden. Damn it.
I feel like Biden was a slight favourite though, but he wouldn't have got much anyway. But yeah, that's still ongoing really. So I don't feel like we're in this space where I can fully celebrate Biden's ascendancy, because yeah, there's a lot of things, sort of loose ends, aka Trump coming into reality, dropping a delusion.
Trends.
Trump
Sorry,
ends, yeah.
Oh, my brain. Anyway, yes, so we love Marcus. We love Marcus Rashford, and we commend him, and we're giving him flowers, as you said.
Yeah, and everybody else out there, you've got the power too in your everyday life, even if it is recycling or just helping out a neighbour. You got power too, and I'm sure a lot of you.
Just smiling at someone, saying hello. I feel like everyone's just afraid to be kind, you know, because the world is just such a wretched place. But
scary.
You know, just little things make a difference. That's what I always try to live by. Don't always get it right, but I try my best.
Right, so that's it, people. That's our episode this week. Hopefully you liked it. Thank you to everybody who watched, especially those that made it to the end. Definitely like, share and subscribe if you're feeling the vibe. We'll be back next week at 6 o'clock, God willing. Yeah? 6 o'clock GPMT. 6 o'clock
There's a whole new time zone there.
Yeah, I just, yeah, so creative. But yeah, 6 o'clock GMT. Okay, and yeah, we look forward to seeing you, and peace, love, stay safe, people, because yeah, especially in our country, lockdown's getting out of control, or should I say the virus. So yeah, remember the reasons you have to be happy. Peace.